The first time I saw the flashing lights sweep across my ranch office windows, I thought maybe there had been an accident out on the road. But then I saw her, the unmistakable figure of Karen, standing at the entrance of my building like a conquering general, her phone still clutched in her hand, barking into it as though the world depended on her words. She pointed at the office with the ferocity of someone who thought she had uncovered a crime. My crime, apparently. Within seconds, officers stepped onto my property, their expressions uncertain, their eyes darting between Karen's theatrics and my calm stance in the doorway. "This man is trespassing," Karen announced, her voice booming with that brand of false authority that had bullied so many in our neighborhood. "This building belongs to the HOA, and he's using it without permission. Arrest him immediately." Her words cut through the night air, dripping with entitlement. My jaw clenched, not from fear, but from sheer disbelief. The office she was pointing at wasn't just a small ranch outbuilding. It was part of the entire complex I had purchased months earlier, a transaction so airtight and legal even the county clerk had called it the cleanest deed transfer he'd ever seen. Karen had no claim here. No one in the HOA did. The officers glanced at me, waiting for an explanation. My response was steady, deliberate. "This office is mine, and so is every structure you see on this property. I hold the deed to the entire complex land. Buildings, water rights, everything." If she told you otherwise, she lied. I pulled out the folder I carried for moments like this. The official stamped paperwork with county seals gleaming under the porch light. The younger officer stepped forward, scanning it quickly, his brows rising as he realized the truth. Karen's face tightened. But the real shock came when I turned to the crowd gathering at the edge of the driveway. Neighbors had come out with their phones, recording, whispering. They had seen Karen dial 911, seen her storm my property as if she were sheriff of the world. And now they were seeing her story unravel in real time. Karen wasn't ready to back down. This whole complex was supposed to fall under HOA jurisdiction. She hissed, her voice shrill with desperation. "It's common property. He can't just claim it all." Her words wavered, though, because she knew as well as I did that nothing about her statement was true. She was bluffing, trying to twist perception before reality caught up to her. I decided to finish the job. "Officers," I said, pulling out another set of documents. "This office isn't just private property. It's a registered business space, licensed under my name. And do you know what's inside?" I opened the door and flicked on the light. Records. Records of every fraudulent citation, every illegal fine this HOA has issued for the last 2 years. You see, when I bought this complex, I also inherited the previous management office. And with it came files that exposed the truth about how Karen and her board have been operating. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's face drained of color. She stammered, "Fat Hat's private HOA documentation." "You can't," but the officer cut her off. "Actually, ma'am, if this gentleman is the rightful owner, those files are his property. And if what he says is true, they may be evidence." He turned toward me. "Sir, would you be willing to provide copies for our investigation?" Karen tried to object, but her words were drowned out by a new voice from the crowd. It was Mrs. Alvarez, an elderly woman who had lived under Karen's thumb for years. "He fined me $400 for painting my shutters cream instead of white. Is that in your files?" She called. Others chimed in complaints of harassment, intimidation, false violations. The air thickened with outrage, the kind that had been brewing quietly for years but had finally found its spark. And then, like a twist of fate, an unexpected ally stepped forward. It was Victor, one of Karen's own board members. His face pale, but his voice clear. "I've seen the files," he admitted. "He's telling the truth. Karen has been doctoring reports, threatening residents, even pocketing some of the money from fines. I tried to stop her, but she silenced me. Not anymore." He turned to the officers. "If you want testimony, you've got mine." The crowd erupted. Phones filmed every second. Karen, once the untouchable queen of our neighborhood, now stood alone, her empire cracking around her. Her frantic eyes darted from me to the officers to the neighbors who no longer feared her. That was the night Karen's downfall truly began. Karen's voice rose into a shrill pitch that cracked like glass, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. That Victor was lying. That I had staged the whole scene. But the more she shouted, the clearer it became to everyone watching that this wasn't the confidence of a leader. It was the panic of someone caught with her hand in the till. Her face twisted red, sweat dripping under the porch lights. The phone still clutched in her hand as if it could shield her from reality. The officers didn't move to arrest her right away, but the shift was undeniable. They weren't listening to her anymore, they were watching me. Watching Victor. Watching the neighbors who stepped forward one after another to add their voices. A man in a flannel jacket stepped closer. "She fined me $200 for keeping my kayak on my own lawn. Said it was an eyesore." Another woman, trembling but resolute, spoke louder. "She trespassed into my backyard, took pictures of my kids' toys, and said we'd get cited if we didn't clean it up." "Who does that?" Murmurs grew, rising into angry shouts. For years these people had swallowed Karen's intimidation, convinced they had no power. But now, with the truth spilling out and the law standing in their driveway, fear gave way to fury. I raised my hand, and the noise softened. "Neighbors, you don't have to live under fear anymore. You were told this HOA had unchecked authority. That Karen's word was law. But the truth is standing here tonight. I own this property. I own these records. And the law is on your side. Together, we can put an end to this corruption once and for all." Karen lunged toward me then, her words dissolving into incoherent screams. But Officer Daniels, returning now in uniform, caught her arm. "Ma'am, that's enough," he said flatly. "You're coming with us." The cuffs clicked into place. Her arms pulled behind her back as she writhed, shrieking about conspiracies and betrayal. The sight of her being guided toward the squad car, her power stripped bare, was the moment the community knew the reign of fear was over. But her downfall didn't stop at the driveway. The files inside my office painted a damning picture: hundreds of falsified violation notices, financial transfers into accounts linked to Karen's relatives, even correspondence where she boasted about keeping residents in line. Leonard, the HOA president who had propped her up, tried to distance himself, but the evidence tied him in just as tightly. Within weeks, both of them faced charges of fraud, harassment, and embezzlement. Their names filled the headlines, no longer as feared rulers, but as criminals exposed before the world. The community transformed almost overnight. Without Karen's constant surveillance, laughter returned to the neighborhood. Yards once hidden behind closed blinds opened up again. Families gathering in driveways to share food and stories. The HOA was dissolved under court order, and in its place residents voted to form a cooperative council that actually listened. Transparency replaced intimidation. Kindness replaced fear. The twist came when county officials invited me to speak at a regional forum about property rights and HOA abuse. I hadn't expected my personal fight to ripple outward. But people from other neighborhoods showed up, eager to hear how we dismantled the chokehold of one woman's arrogance. Emily, standing beside me that day, whispered, "You didn't just protect this ranch. You gave people back their voices." And she was right. The fight had started at my office door, but it ended as a spark of change stretching far beyond our lakefront. Karen, meanwhile, faded into the kind of infamy that leaves scars. With a criminal record, she lost not just her position but her reputation. No other community would ever hand her a clipboard again. Leonard pled guilty to avoid trial, but the shame of it lingered in every whisper of his name. The complex they once tried to claim now stood as a symbol of resiliency. Office doors open to neighbors whenever they wanted to review documents, ask questions, or simply sit by the lake and remember what freedom felt like. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the water glowed like fire, I stood on the porch with the wooden sign Karen once pointed at in fury still leaning by the steps. Someone had scribbled words across it in permanent marker: "Our community. Our voice." That, I realized, was the true victory. Not my title as waterway supervisor, not the legal papers or the court orders. It was the people finding the courage to stand together. So I ask you, was I right to fight her publicly? To pull her empire apart in front of the whole neighborhood and expose every secret file? Or should justice have been delivered quietly, behind closed doors, without the spectacle? Share your thoughts. Because this isn't just about one HOA or one ranch office. It's about every place where someone abuses power, and whether ordinary people will rise and say, "Enough."